This video is sponsored by Declutter. Listen, if you're watching this video, you're probably planning on upgrading to either the iPhone 11 or the iPhone XR. So if you are planning on upgrade, you need to do it the smart way with Declutter, the fast and easy way to sell your cell phone. Declutter will give you a free instant valuation for your phone, shipping is totally free, and you'll get paid the day after your phone arrives. Best of all, they pay up to 33% more than carrier buyback programs. To start, simply head over to declutter.com, that's DECLUTTR, and tell them the make and model of the device you're selling. Then select the carrier and condition to get a free instant valuation. That's right, no auctions, no annoying fees, and no having to deal with unreliable buyers. Plus, with their tech price promise, you're guaranteed to get the first price they offer, or you can request your handset back for free. Declutter is genuinely the best place to sell your old cell. They offer the best prices on the market, offer free shipping, and what's best is they pay fast too, the day after your items arrive. And be sure to use my promo code Greg5 to get an extra $5 when you're selling your old cell phone, and thank you so much to Declutter for sponsoring this video. Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and last year Apple released the iPhone XR, and that quickly became one of my top recommendations for anyone purchasing an iPhone because it combined a lot of the features of the iPhone 10 into a more affordable package. Now this year, Apple has released the iPhone 11, which is pretty much the successor to the iPhone XR. But Apple did something that I wasn't expecting, and they actually kept the iPhone XR in the iPhone lineup. So with Apple keeping my top recommendation in the iPhone lineup, should you purchase an iPhone XR, or are the upgrades to the iPhone 11 enough to make it worth the purchase? So let's get this out of the way first, because this is probably one of the biggest deciding factors on whether you go for the iPhone XR or the iPhone 11. And that is the price. The iPhone 11 starts at $699 for 64 gigabytes, while the iPhone XR starts at $599 for the same 64 gigabytes, $100 less than the iPhone 11. Now, both the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR can be upgraded to 128 gigabytes for only $50 more. This is actually my top recommendation for anyone purchasing either phone, because $50 more for double the storage, I think that's going to be a better value in the long term, especially if you're taking a lot of photos and videos or you plan on storing a lot of files on your phone. I honestly think almost anyone should make this upgrade. It is a no-brainer. However, one difference is that the iPhone XR on Apple's website is limited to 128 gigabytes. They discontinued the old 256 gigabyte option. Now, the iPhone 11 can be upgraded to 256 gigabytes for $150 more, so if you plan on using a lot of storage, the 11 is the way to go. Alright, let's talk about the design of the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR because they share a lot of similarities. They both have the same front notch design with Face ID. Apple claims that Face ID works a little bit better on the iPhone 11, giving you greater angles. However, in my testing, I really couldn't notice the difference between the iPhone 11's Face ID and the iPhone XR's Face ID. And they both have the same 6.1-inch Liquid Retina display at a resolution of 1792 by 828 with a 326 pixels per inch. Both phones have the same thicker bezel on the front, they both have aluminum siding, and they both have glass backs that support wireless charging. So while in your hand, these phones feel very similar with the same dimensions, the same weight, and just kind of have the same overall feeling. So what are the differences between the design of these two models? The most notable difference, which I'm sure you've noticed by now, is that the iPhone XR only has a single lens camera system, while the iPhone 11 gets a much bigger square camera bump with two cameras, a normal wide angle and the addition of an ultra wide angle lens, which we can talk about more towards the camera comparison section of this video. The iPhone 11 also gets increased durability in its design, offering stronger glass than last year's iPhone XR and increased water resistance. The iPhone XR is rated at IP67 for 1 meter of submersion underwater for 30 minutes, while the iPhone 11 gets an increased rating of IP68 and is able to be submerged in water for 2 meters for 30 minutes. Another design difference is the different color choices you can get with the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11. The iPhone XR opted for more brighter and vivid colors compared to the more pastel color options of the iPhone 11. For the iPhone XR, your color options are black, white, red, yellow, blue, or coral. For the iPhone 11, you also get black, white, yellow, and red. However, the yellow and red are more pastel colored, so not as vivid as the XR, and you also get the addition of green and purple for this year. Now, color choices are a personal preference, but if I had to pick a winner, I would go with the iPhone XR colors. I much prefer the more bold and vivid colors of the XR compared to the more pastel and muted colors of the iPhone 11. Oh, and also the Apple logo is now in the center of the iPhone 11, while the one on the XR is raised. Yeah, I know, no one cares. Okay, so on the outside, things are pretty similar, but there are some more changes to the inside of the iPhone 11 compared to the iPhone XR. So one of those differences is the speakers. Now, both the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR both have stereo speakers. However, with the iPhone 11, Apple is adding support for what they call spatial audio. This spatial audio system works in tandem with Dolby Atmos, so you get a wider soundstage, and maybe you can kind of pinpoint where individual sounds are coming from in the screen. So in reality, are the speakers better on the iPhone 11? Yes, by a little bit, but to really appreciate them, you have to watch content that supports Dolby Atmos, so maybe some movies on iTunes. If you're just watching regular YouTube videos, you're probably not going to notice the difference too much in the speakers. Another difference between the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR is the wireless connectivity. The iPhone 11 supports gigabit LTE, while the iPhone XR only supports LTE Advanced. In theory, that means you should get faster speed from your cellular carrier. However, depending on your area, depending on your coverage, you really might not notice too much of a difference. The iPhone 11 also supports the new Wi-Fi 6, while the iPhone XR is still at Wi-Fi AC. Wi-Fi 6 is relatively new, and most people don't have a Wi-Fi 6 compatible router. However, if you are planning on purchasing a new router in the next year or two, you can get much faster speeds on your iPhone 11. Another major difference is that the iPhone 11 supports Apple's brand new U1 chip. So as of right now, there aren't too many features that take advantage of that U1 chip for spatial awareness. So for example, in iOS 13.1, you can use this for AirDrop if you have two U1 compatible iPhones. So say you're sitting in a room with a bunch of people, you can point your iPhone at the person you want to AirDrop to, and then that will put that person's iPhone at the top of your AirDrop list. However, based on rumors, Apple is planning on expanding the U1 chip's capabilities. So for example, Apple is rumored to be working on a tile tracking system. So you would place this tile on something like your keys. If your keys were lost, you would be able to take your U1 enabled iPhone, point it around the room, and then you would be able to pinpoint where that lost item is. That's just one example. The U1 chip might also be used for things like indoor navigation, but as of right now, it only supports that AirDrop feature, but it does look like Apple is planning on expanding these capabilities for the U1 chip, so if you want to future-proof yourself, you can only get this on the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. All right, let's talk about performance, because both of these smartphones have two different chips inside of them. So looking at Geekbench benchmark scores, you'll notice that the iPhone 11 has a higher score of 1,326 compared to the iPhone XR score of 1,107. So no surprise here, the A13 in the iPhone 11 is faster than the A12 in the iPhone XR. Now, with all that extra CPU power in the iPhone 11, will most people notice the difference with day-to-day tasks, the iPhone 11 versus the iPhone XR? No, not really. Both of these smartphone chips are really advanced, and for anything we're using on either the iPhone XR or the iPhone 11, you really can't notice the difference. However, the iPhone 11 is using that A13 chip for some more advanced computational photography stuff that we will talk about in the camera section of this comparison. Okay, how about battery life? Apple claimed that the iPhone 11 will get 1 additional hour of battery life over the iPhone XR. Now, this is a little bit tricky. We know that the A13 chip is more power efficient, and we know that the iPhone 11 has a very, very slightly bigger battery than the iPhone XR, so you should get better battery life from the iPhone 11. And an hour more of real-world usage honestly isn't that much, so I would say they're pretty much about the same. I guess the iPhone 11 probably has a little bit better battery life, but again, this is an area where it's not too much of an advantage that most people are going to notice. And with that being said, the iPhone 11 and iPhone XR both have good battery life, so no matter which phone you pick up after watching this video, you can rest assured that the battery life is good on both of them. So of all the things we talked about with the iPhone XR versus the iPhone 11, the camera is probably the biggest area where you're going to notice the differences between these two phones, and there is a lot to cover. First, let's start off with the wide-angle camera. Both the iPhone XR and iPhone 11 feature a 12 megapixel wide-angle camera. However, the quality between these two lenses differ. And a lot of that comes down to that A13 chip we mentioned before and the advancements Apple has made with computational photography with the iPhone 11. Now, I think both of these cameras actually do a pretty good job overall, and in outdoor lighting, you might not be able to tell the differences between the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR. Both do a great job of exposing the scene with Apple's Smart HDR. With that being said, the iPhone 11 overall does seem to take a sharper photo than the iPhone XR, which can look softer in comparison. So that extra sharpness and extra detail just makes for a better looking overall photo on the iPhone 11. And it's not just photos that look better too. Video also looks better, especially if you plan on shooting with 4K 60 frames per second, because the iPhone 11 offers high dynamic range with 60 FPS, while the iPhone XR only gets high dynamic range during 30 and 24 FPS. Furthermore, the iPhone 11 adds another lens into the picture with the ultra wide angle lens. And there's nothing to compare on the iPhone XR because it only has a single lens system. Now, even if you're watching this and you never plan on using the ultra wide angle lens, you still get some additional benefits just by having a second lens on the iPhone 11. And that comes with portrait mode. The iPhone 11 gets better portrait mode than the iPhone XR because of the second lens that now allows it to capture depth data. This means that you can now use the iPhone 11's portrait mode to take portrait mode shots of pets and objects, while the iPhone XR's portrait mode required a human face in order to activate. Furthermore, the iPhone 11 also gets some additional options for the lighting effects in portrait mode. The XR only gets studio and contour lighting effects, while the 11 gets access to both of these and the addition of stage light mono, and the newly added high key light mono. And it doesn't stop there. The front-facing camera of the iPhone 11 is also a significant upgrade compared to the iPhone XR. The XR's front-facing camera only comes with a 7 megapixel sensor, while the 11 gets a jump up to 12 megapixels. The 11 can overall get a wider field of view on that front-facing camera as well, so you can fit more people into a group selfie. Video quality also gets upgraded in the front-facing camera on the 11, and it can now record up to 4K 60 frames per second. And the front-facing camera can also record high dynamic range, however, you'll have to use either 24 or 30 FPS. Furthermore, the 11 can also shoot slow motion video from the front-facing camera. And yeah, so far the iPhone 11 has a pretty big upgrade when it comes to the camera. However, I kind of left out the biggest upgrade yet, and that is the night mode. This is probably the biggest difference with the camera on the iPhone 11 versus the iPhone XR. Night mode works automatically and activates when a scene is dark enough, and the difference between the iPhone 11 and iPhone XR are night and day. And just look at some of these low light level shots we're getting on the iPhone 11. Night mode just completely makes you rethink what sort of photos you can get out of your smartphone in low lighting conditions. I would also like to note that Apple is planning on adding another photography feature called Deep Fusion, and this should also help enhance photo quality in medium to low light situations. Okay, so let's conclude this video. Should you get the iPhone 11 or the iPhone XR? And listen, the iPhone 11 is better than the iPhone XR. I don't think that's going to be a shock to anyone watching this video. It is a newer phone and has more features, therefore it is better. But overall, you have to decide if those additional features are worth the additional price increase. And that's going to vary person to person. Now, if I was going to give a recommendation to most people, I would say to spend the extra $100 and just go for the iPhone 11. And that's because you're going to overall get better performance with the A13 chip, and that also probably includes an extra year of iOS updates. You're also getting better speakers, increased durability, better connectivity, and a way better camera with the improvements made to the iPhone 11. However, if the price is still too high for you, then you should definitely look at the iPhone XR. It is still a great phone, and it's still going to be supported for years to come. And if you honestly don't care about the camera improvements and you need a more affordable option, the iPhone XR is still a solid choice. And at $150 less than last year, I think it's still a great phone even for today. So the XR is still a solid choice, especially when you consider that it is $150 less than it was last year. So I think that still makes it a great phone even for today. All right, everyone, hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments below which phone do you plan on going with, the iPhone XR or the iPhone 11. Also, be sure to check out our sponsor for this video, Declutter, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.